Hi, my name is Sinae Cheh. I'm the Artistic Director at Morningstar Korean Cultural Center. We've been around for 35 years, since 1985. My mom started the organization, so I started as a dancer, and now I've been teaching, choreographing, and doing the overall disciplining of the students. Morningstar, as I mentioned, was started in 1985 with just a few young children. My dad's vision was that we needed to be able to share our culture in a multicultural society. And in order to be able to perform or meet the demands when the time came, we had to start sooner, even if there wasn't such a demand, because something like dance takes training, takes time. I was born in Korea, but I came here when I was 2 years old. So I pretty much grew up here. I'm not considered Korean anymore. I'm a Korean American. I was raised in Linwood, which isn't technically Seattle, but I went through the Linwood School District, or it's Edmond School District. I graduated from Meadowdale High School, went to college in Boston, but I always knew that I'd come back home to Seattle. As you start getting older in a dance group that you grew up in, not very many people stick with it, but I was one of the few who did stick with it through my entire life. And being the oldest, I naturally started to develop a teacher role. At first, I was really uncomfortable because although I might be older, I wasn't that much older. They were technically my friends. And now I'm teaching my friends, and I have to instruct them what to do, or maybe tell them, critique them if they're doing something wrong. But, you get used to it. I learned to separate, friendships with student relationships. And then in the process, I had opportunities to choreograph in between. So it was kind of a natural progression. My dad's vision has truly manifested. There's been so much demand for Korean culture. And, in this day and age, I know that K-pop, K-drama, Korean food is the biggest thing, right? But with that, the interest growing there, people also have an interest for Korean language and Korean traditional dance and music, or even Korean history. So locally and even in the United States, there have been greater stages that we're performing at. We've been called to Guatemala or Nicaragua, where the embassy is trying to share Korean culture with the people of the country. And when we travel internationally, I mentioned the whole mission aspect. We work a lot with missionaries, and we're there temporarily. But what we're able to do is we're able to help the missionaries develop relationships with the local people there, the local government, the local communities. And because they were able to bring this, great cultural performance to their community, the missionaries become popular, and it makes their work a lot easier. So we're really here to help and be a bridge. As we were preparing for this, I was thinking back, and I think the first year that we participated in a Seattle Theater Group program was back in 2000. So it's been a 20-year history. It's been a wonderful history. And I always thought that performances or celebrations like Global Party was so important to our cultural community, for artists and the communities, because Global Party or Seattle Theater Group does a great job in honoring and respecting these art forms. In 2017, we created this piece called Fusion Encounter specifically for a Global Party. Now, we already had this song that we did, but when we were envisioning something for a Global Party in 2017, we don't want it to just be a musical thing. So we choreographed the dance to the live music. We call this Fusion Encounter because Korean fusion or fusion music became more of a recent development in Korea. The traditional music, after colonialism, traditional music and dance was looked down upon because Korean people had this idea of inferiority when it came to our traditional music and dance. And so there was kind of a rejection, but only recently have we started to celebrate Korean culture again. This time where people have to isolate, I think that it's important to remember that we're still social beings, that we still need community. So we have to work that much harder to reach out to community and to like maintain and manage a community of our own. It's kind of a three-part process, I guess. We have to discover our gifts, we have to develop it, because just because we have it doesn't mean it's already at the best that it can be. So we develop it. And then I think the greatest gift that we can give to ourselves and others is to share those gifts with each other.